Canadians have been asked to and are buying and drinking local, supporting Canadian brewers and distillers. Some provinces have continued to urge boycotting of U.S. spirits. Most provincial liquor and agencies have removed American spirits and wine from sale. U.S. launches trade war against us. Where do you stand on the issue? Is support now starting to fade, or is it dividing consumers? Gary?
I stand firmly on the issue. I don't want to see a bottle or even a cork hinting that bottles are around of any American wine or any American spirits. And for that matter, for those who, I guess, prefer American beer, any hints of American beer either. And when at some point it does creep back in, I'm done. I'm over with it.
Here, Barry, I want to see how upset you are. I don't see you.
Oh yeah, right. I was getting to that, but then you threw that question at me, and of course I'm gone.
There you are. Okay, right. Where were you? I want to see that face of yours.
But I'm done. I am so done and over it. The more I think about it on a daily basis, the more resolve I get that there's no way I am even stepping foot across that border. Now, I'm at some point maybe flying over there at 35, 40,000 feet. That's fine. And just hope that I get from point A to point B without having to make a stop for whatever the emergency or something in between.
Right.
Certainly, if I'm planning a flight or a trip, and they say, well, you're flying into Washington or someplace and changing. No, you get me a direct flight or loop me around somehow. Don't give me a flight going into anywhere in the United States. Done.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
And as I've said before, I've rediscovered some Canadian whiskeys, for example, that I haven't had for a number of years. And I've discovered a couple of new whiskeys, and I've even found some new scotches, that come in from Britain and in Scotland and Ireland.
Which you happily introduced me to. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome. My pleasure. But as far as you could put a case of American bourbon in front of me and thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Take it back. Don't want it. Want nothing to do with it. And I am still really not happy with Saskatchewan and Alberta for caving in so quickly and bringing it back there. BC, wasn't really happy with BC. They took a novel approach to it, banning liquor from red states, which essentially would take care of the bourbon industry for sure, but allowing others. Why would you allow American wine from California in when you have the Okanagan and you have Ontario?
Niagara region, yeah.
Yeah, the wines from the Okanagan, top shelf.
Yeah.
And Ontario wines, good. And in some other regions, like micro climates, where they're starting to grow some grapes and getting some wines, good. Yeah. But don't rave to me about a California wine, because you know what? They can't top. I'm sorry. The more I sip Canadian wines, and I just wish, first of all, our SAQ here in Griffintown is way too small. You don't have a variety at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I do countless surveys. Every couple of months they send a survey, and that's the first thing I jump on. But also, I really wish Quebec, I know you're promoting Quebec products, and I get it. I totally understand it. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. And Quebec, there are some Quebec wines now starting to come into their own.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many really good wines from the Okanagan and Ontario that we could be experiencing in this province that we're not. And I think, let's open it up. Come on.
Well, that's due to the trade barriers that are still in place today, correct?
Some of it, and some of it's political.
I knew you were going to say that. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
It is what it is.
Well, like Manel and I have very often crossed into Ontario just to be able to get at some of the wines that are prevalent to the rest of the country. I mean, I can go into Ontario and buy BC wines.
Yep.
I can't get it here, but I can get them in Ontario. And I've taken numerous trips to Niagara on the Lake and did wine tours and brought home cases of wine. Excellent, excellent wine. I'm not a wine connoisseur. Typically buy this to serve to guests that come to visit us, and we've had some wine connoisseurs amongst those people, and they just love the quality of the wines, whether it's red, whether it's white, whether it's rosé, even their ice wines. Their ice wines are actually award winning in Europe, if you can believe it. So a lot of great products here. On a personal side, speaking to Kentucky and bourbon. I mean, a good quality bourbon has been my poison of choice. Again, it's when we have friends and guests come over, and we don't drink a whole hell of a lot, but it's premium bourbon. Take a wild guess where that premium bourbon is right now, Gary. It's sitting in a dark cupboard. I have not touched it since January. It's collecting dust, and it's going to continue collecting dust at minimum for the next 3.5 years. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
And as you said, Gary, I mean, there are other things that I'm discovering. Canadian spirits, Canadian whiskey, which I had forgotten about. Trying them again. Scottish whiskey. You introduced me to a very nice blend, and it's nice, and you learn to appreciate something beyond what you're typically used to, being bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I can recount a story back in December. I went out with a bunch of buddies of mine to a pretty established restaurant here in Montreal, and there was 8 of us, and of course we want to do a shot. And one of my buddies asks the waitress if we can get a round of Jack Daniels, and she looks at him and goes, "We don't sell that stuff here anymore. I mean, quote unquote. We don't sell this stuff here anymore." And this was back in December, believe it or not. This was just before Christmas, and then that was kind of mentioned then. They had the stock on shelf, but they just didn't want to sell it. I guess they saw what was coming. And then back in June, we went to another establishment, and sure enough, they basically said, "Nope, don't stock that anymore. Can't offer it to you." And just this past weekend, we had some friends come visit us from California, and we took them out to a restaurant, and he asked for a cocktail that had bourbon in it, and the lady looked at him and goes, "Sir, we don't sell bourbon here in this restaurant anymore." After he ordered something else with Canadian spirit in it, and he looked at us and he goes, "You know what? We heard that this was happening in California, that this was happening in Canada, and some regions in Canada are no longer offering and serving American alcohol to people in restaurants, or selling it to them at the liquor stores." And he goes, "We just heard that this was something going on. We didn't realize that this was actually going on." And that's where I kind of explained to him a little bit about the Elbows Up movement, a little bit about the Buy Canadian movement, and that the leaders in our provinces initially had basically banned all alcohol sales in their provinces, which pretty much ended up being all of Canada. And you know what he said to me? What Tony said? He goes, "I am so sorry to hear this, and I'm absolutely ashamed and disgusted. This is an American citizen. And he didn't realize how deeply the rhetoric, the policies of the American government was actually scarring their Canadian neighbors. And it took him about the entire supper to really come out of that doldrum of realizing what his government and what his government was doing, not just to Canada, but what they were doing internationally. So it was a pretty it was a little bit of an emotional moment for myself as well to actually see somebody say, "Oh my God, this is so shameful."